Our values. One of the main principles in Australia is an adherence to law and order. Each Australian accepts the fact that laws are essential in keeping communities as well as the entire nation in peace and secure. Each Australian has the same rights under the laws, and no one can be exempt from observing the law or facing punishment when they don't. It is crucial that every person abides by the law all of the time, regardless of whether the chance of being detained or penalised is low. Australia is controlled by a democratic parliamentary system that is governed through parliaments that are populated by people who elect representatives from the citizens. The authority of the government is derived from the Australian citizens and their votes, as well as the power to be supplanted by voters in elections should they wish to. The significance of democracy in Australia is highlighted in the way the requirement to vote is required at state-level election, national elections, and referendums. An Australian is entitled to free speech as long as they don't violate the rules of the law. The ability to debate issues both in private and in public is an aspect of this freedom, as is everyone is entitled to voice their views in public speaking or in writing about any subject. The media have the same rights to the freedom of expression. Every one of Australians are entitled to take part in peaceful protests against the government, if they want, and as long as they are in compliance with the law. Freedom of speech cannot be used to encourage violent acts against others or groups, for instance because of their religion, race or customs, because that would be in violation of or be in line with Australian law or the values. No one has the right to spread falsehoods about other people or advocate for others or to engage in unlawful activities. The most fundamental aspect of the freedom of expression in Australia is the fact that each citizen has to be respectful of every citizen's rights to the freedom of expression and speech in accordance with the limits of law. The Australian citizen is also entitled to the right to freedom of association. That means that they are able to decide to join or not belong to or quit any legal organisation, and not be compelled by or other individual. Some examples of organizations that an individual may decide to join or refuse to be a part of are social clubs or cultural associations, religious organizations, trade unions, as well as political party. Freedom of association also includes the freedom to join together with others in order to express their displeasure against government or other organizations that they do not agree with. The protests have to be legal. In other words, they must be quiet and do not inflict injury on any other person. Neither do they need to damage your property. There isn't an official Australian nationwide religion. Australians are free to be a part of any religion or any other religion. Everyone is entitled to the same treatment by the authorities, regardless of which religion they practice or the absence of it. However, there is no religious belief that can infringe on Australian legal guidelines. The law does not provide legal authority to enforce religious laws in Australia. Every Australian resident and visitor is required to follow Australian laws, regardless of whether they do not follow the rules of the religion they follow. Certain practices are a part of within certain cultures and religions, such as the enforced marriage, also known as polygamy. Marriages that involve multiple people is prohibited in Australia. Anyone who indulges these practices could face severe legal penalties, including imprisonment. Australia refuses to accept the discrimination of religion. It is of the opinion that all people deserve equality regardless of which race or religion they belong to, as long as they don't infringe upon Australian laws.